In this video, I'm going to show how Gilbert can be used to achieve four-way signal routing. Signal routing is like the opposite of crossfading. Crossfading allows a single output to gradually transition between multiple inputs, while signal routing allows a single input to gradually transition between multiple outputs. Normally, this requires several external VCAs, but with some creative patching, we can do this with Gilbert alone. This patch is not the most intuitive because we're kind of using Gilbert backwards. Rather than applying our audio signal to Gilbert's main input, we're going to apply it to the level control CV input. Assuming our audio is bipolar, we're going to want to position the level panel control at noon. I have a reference triangle wave up on the oscilloscope, and I'm going to molt it and apply it to Gilbert's level CV input. And now I'm going to take 3 of Gilbert's outputs and apply them to the other 3 inputs on our oscilloscope. I'm only using 3 of Gilbert's outputs because our oscilloscope only has 4 inputs, and one of those inputs is already being used for our reference triangle wave. And now, as I sweep the manual control and Gilbert's different outputs become active, we'll see our reference triangle wave appear at the different inputs on the oscilloscope. When output 2 is lit, we'll see the blue triangle on the oscilloscope. When output 3 is lit, we'll see the red triangle on the oscilloscope. And when output 4 is lit, we'll see the yellow triangle on the oscilloscope. Because this patch is kind of a creative hack, there are some imperfections. It's important to note that the inputs on my oscilloscope are AC coupled, which removes DC offset. When you use Gilbert like this, it is important that you connect each of the outputs to an input that is AC coupled to remove DC offset that would otherwise cause some undesirable distortion. Now I'm going to remove our reference triangle wave and replace it with a synth voice I have set up off screen to show that this works just as well with complex audio sources. Now, rather than just being connected to an input on the oscilloscope, each one of Gilbert's outputs is being routed to Ableton Live, where each one is being processed by a different effect. Now, when output 2 is lit, our input signal is being routed through a resonator. When output 3 is lit, our input is being routed to a delay. And when output 4 is lit, our input is routed through a reverb. And now if I apply an LFO to Gilbert's main input, we'll have voltage control over this signal routing. This is like having a 4-way voltage-controlled effects send. And I can still use Gilbert's panel controls to vary how many of these effects we are routing to. Now we're only going back and forth between 2 of our effects. Now we're alternating between delay and reverb. Now we are alternating between the resonator and the delay. When output 1 is active, we will only hear our dry signal. So now we are alternating between our resonator and our dry signal. This patch is a very economic use of Gilbert and demonstrates the importance of patch programmability. Most people do not have 4 VCAs in their modular system, and if they do, they are often being used to fulfill more basic tasks. Using Gilbert like this is a great way to add a lot of complex and dynamic movement to your modular patches.